graphing rational inequalities. It's the exact same process as I showed you in the quadratic inequalities. We're going to be drawing the number line, doing the shading, choosing the test values and things like that. Now, let's take the first one here. Notice this is a negative number. So when I choose my test values, I want the number to be negative, and if it's negative, that's where I'm going to shade. So we're going to solve the top and solve the bottom. We're not having to factor anything. We're just having to set the top and the bottom equal to 0 and solve for x. So this one gives me x to be 3, x to be negative 4. Alright, draw the number line. Negative 4, positive 3. Alright, my test values, I'm going to choose 0 for the middle, negative 5 on the left, positive 4 on the right. Plug these numbers in right here. This is where we're going to plug them. Negative 5 minus 3 over negative 5 plus 4, that gives me negative 8 over negative 1, which is positive 8. Now, I want to be a negative 8. This gives me positive 8, so we scratch this region out. Plug 0 in. 0 minus 3 over 0 plus 4. That gives me a negative 3/4. Well, that's a negative. That's what he said we wanted, so we're going to shade in between. We'll take the 4, check it out. We'll get 1 over 8, which is not negative, so we cross this region out. Now, here's a little situation. This less than or equal to means my answer has brackets. The problem is we have a fraction. The bracket indicates it can equal to something. Now, what would happen, now just think about this, what would happen if I let x be 4? If I let x to be negative 4, I'm going to get a 0 in the denominator, but that's impossible. On the rational inequalities, the number that comes from the bottom, whatever that number is, the number that comes from the bottom will always have a parentheses next to it. Always. The other number may have a bracket, or it may have a parentheses. This one has a bracket, but the one next to the number from the bottom will always have a parentheses. Now this one is just a greater than symbol. So I'm going to have 2 parentheses. That's not going to matter. It's positive though, so at least know that much. Both of them will have parentheses. So when we draw my little number line, I'm looking for positive. So we're going to solve for x. X to be negative 1. X to be negative 6. Alright, I'm going to choose negative 7 for my test value on this side. Choose negative 7. I'll choose 0 over here. I'll choose negative 2 here. So I'm going to plug these numbers in, and I want my answer to be a positive number when I simplify it. So give me negative 6 over negative 1, which is positive 6. So it's positive, so that means we shade in this region. Let's take the negative 2 and put it in for x. So we'll get negative 1 over positive 4, which is not positive, so we're going to cross that out. We're going to put the 0 in, going to get 1 over 6, which is positive. So we shade this direction. The answer, because it's got the middle crossed out, has the union symbol. Now, this is a greater than, so both of my numbers will have a parentheses. Make sure you're using the number here to put in your answers. Now this one is a greater than or equal to. It's positive automatically because it's greater than or 0. But because it's a fraction, one of my numbers will have a parentheses next to it and the other will have a bracket. But first, let's go solve for x, and draw the number line. Oops. Alright. I solved this one for x. We're going to move 1 over. We're going to divide by 2. That's one of my x's. This one, I want it x to be positive 4. So draw my number line. 1/2 and 4. My test values, I'm going to choose 0 here, 1 here, 5 here. So if I put 0 in for x, I'm going to get 0 minus 1 over 4 minus 0, which gives me negative 1 over 4. My answer needs to be positive. Notice this is a negative number, so we cross that out. I'm going to plug 1 in. If I plug 1 in for x, I'm going to get 2 minus 1 over 4 minus 1, which will be 1/3, which is positive. So that means we shade in between. Now when I plug 5 in, I'm going to get 10 minus 1 in the top, and 4 minus 5 in the bottom, which gives me negative 9 over, 1 over negative 9, which is a negative number, which means that doesn't work. Now, make sure you're paying attention. These are the two numbers in the answer. The 1/2 will have a bracket because the 1/2 came from the top. The 4 will have the parentheses because the 4 came from the bottom. So the only difference is when you write the answer, sometimes, every time one number will have a parentheses. Sometimes both of them will, sometimes only one of them will. But they will definitely, one of them, have a parentheses. That's the only difference.